Hi, welcome everybody. Good evening. My name is Dr. Diana Londoño. I'm a urologist in Los Angeles, and I'm the founder of physiciancoachsupport.com, which is a free and confidential platform for any physician to come and get support that is peer-led by a physician who is also a coach that can help you with anything that you are going through, feeling, thinking, wanting to do, dreaming about doing in a free and confidential manner via Zoom. And so we have guests every month that come to really share their wisdom, their expertise, their tools to just really help us in a different dimension thrive and live with joy and live with excitement and just make our life better every day. And so this month is no surprise that I just have such a lovely friend and colleague who's a urologist who really, walks the walk, talks the talk, and does all of it and does it with love and compassion and so much service to all of us, whether urologists or not. And it's probably been 3 years in the making. We should have had him come to really help us about what this is all about, really sounding, looking, amazing in our communications. And we're going to go through all that both in one-on-one, because he is an expert, efficient, the most efficient person for urologists that you will ever find. He's going to talk about that and how to effectively communicate in a short amount of time with empathy to give you 5-star reviews, which I think he has like about 1,000 amazing 5-star reviews. That shows the power of communication. We're going to go into how to shine when we are speaking in a conference, in a grand rounds, in a TED Talk. I mean, you can use all these skills in that. And also, finally, also in social media. It's so important. We could be the smartest people, the most accomplished researchers. But if you can't communicate, if you don't have the body language, the sound, the light, the background, the fillers to really communicate effectively, that's just going to go flat. So again, Dr. Lin is an incredible human communicator, person, growth mindset. I couldn't be happier to have him here. So welcome, John. Thank you so much for being here.
Diana, by the end of our discussion today, your life and our audience's lives will change in an immeasurable and positive way. I can't wait to dive into this conversation, and I want to welcome anyone watching this live or on the replay to ask any questions. So let's dive in.
Yeah, well, so please tell us a little bit more about you. I know you. I know all like your background, all the things you do for our community because you have this beautiful Facebook group that is the Thriving Urology Practice. That just says so much about you that you create this community that is a group that is very busy and you still have a life and kids and a practice and you do this for others to help us. So, I know this, but other people don't know a little bit about you. So tell us more about you, who you are, what makes you tick, what you're about, and share a little bit of you.
So, as an immigrant from Taiwan many years ago, we grew up pretty poor, and obviously, I didn't speak the language. So, I was super awkward and very self-conscious about how I look and how I sound. And that language barrier was pretty strong. Somehow got into medicine, found urology totally serendipitously, which has really changed my life. And it's changed my life. It's going to change my family's life. And I'm using what I know, changing the lives of my patients. And I figure I'm so blessed. I am living beyond the American dream. I am going to pay it forward.
Mm.
And that's why I created the Thriving Urology Practice Facebook group. I think of myself as a modern day Robin Hood. You see, I take from the information rich and give it to the time constrained poor, which are my fellow urologists and fellow physicians. And in that group, we talk about billing, coding, practice management, how to run things efficiently. And I don't like to keep information behind paywalls. I think we should share and democratize information. As they say, a rising tide raises all ships. And it's always better when I see my colleagues doing well instead of just, I am doing well.
Oh, I just want to hug you because, that's just such the growth mindset and the abundance mindset. And, you spoke and you started with you're blessed and, how you want to pay it forward. And like, sometimes it's really rare to find this, but we slowly are finding more like-minded people that are in this path. And that's why, I love you just so much because of that, because you've never had a scarcity mindset. You always want to pay it forward. You don't want to hold information. Like so many people don't want to share, like, or if you don't pay me, I'm not going to tell you. And what you do for our colleagues, and we'll definitely get into all the communication, but I want to acknowledge like what you do for our colleagues as urologists, because when you've shared, which has impacted my life greatly, the silliest things are like this code that I add, or the G2211, or all these codes that you have researched and really dug deep, deep, deep to do. It took many, many hours to do, to share with us so that our lives can be better, so we can build more efficiently, the right way to do so, and not sketchy ways, and do it with the right place and the right heart, so we can get compensated, better, and our lives can be better because of that. We're going to maybe get promotions or get patted on the back or pay for the things we need to pay for because we are coding at the maximum level. And then we don't have to work as hard if we don't want to, because we're working smart. And I have greatly, greatly benefited from the information you share with us graciously for free. And I really, really want to acknowledge, and I know people tell you all the time how much they appreciate you, but it really is such, beautiful way to be and to lead courageously, and not so quietly, but, just really being an example for others that, we can be that way. We can be that way for other people.
That's exactly right. I want to serve as an example.
Yes,
I want to break that mold of holding everything back and not sharing. Also, once you see somebody else doing something, for instance, what you're doing right now, physician coach support, and talking about taboo subjects like that, it makes it okay. You're serving as a role model, as the first person possibly doing it. Somebody else is seeing you doing this thing online, dancing videos and stuff like that. It becomes normalized, and which gives permission for others to do the same thing. Part of the reason I'm doing this is to, number one, pay it forward, and also show other people that it is okay to do it. And that way, other people will do the same thing. When I openly share information, if you notice it within the group, other people are sharing. Other people are speaking about what they are doing in their practices, the tips and tricks, sharing information. And that's what I want to do. I can't have all of you burning out. I need you to be thriving, because as I'm getting older, my prostate's getting bigger. I can't have you all burning out. I need somebody to operate on me. So absolutely, for a very selfish reason,
it's also okay. We have to be selfish about it, because we are all patients. I mean, I say the same thing. Like, the reason why I'm so passionate is because we're all patients. We all have skin in the game. If everybody's burned out, and I don't have a GI doctor and a heart doctor and a cardiologist, or all this that I will need, and my family needs, and my kids need a pediatrician that's present. This stuff matters. It really matters. It's our lives, our family. So I try to do whatever I can, from my standpoint, helping, because I think it's so important, and also my colleagues, we are humans, like we have to take care of each other. And so, I think that's why we also have the same frequency of things. And I want to really also acknowledge, like, we spent the last 10 minutes, fixing my audio, just turning the microphone and making sure, you knew the Google name of this microphone, and that it could be in the best possible way so I can sound better and be more effective in my communication. And I want to kind of talk now about your power that you have and the ability. And you talked about some of your mentors, some of these books and people that you follow, like Chris Voss, Vanessa Van Edwards, Vinh Giang, as masters of things that you have learned from them and that you apply in your everyday life, whether it's you at the bank, you with patients, you at the grocery store, or giving a presentation. You're using all these skills in many facets, and you really are applying and seeing like incredible results. So can you tell me more about even just in your very busy practice, and explain what very busy practice is so people can understand how many people you see, how many vasectomies you do on a Saturday, and how in that short amount of time you're using these skills to communicate effectively and compassionately, not just effective, but really see people, hear them, validate them, because this is a skill as well. So share that a little bit about the one-on-one and some of these masters.
So as far as how productive you can simply, one of the metrics is work RVUs. You can, the MGMA is about what, 7,500 work RVUs annually for a typical urologist. For the last 11 years, I averaged around 1,600 work RVUs. Wait, 75? No, 16,000. So average MGMA, or median MGMA is 7,500 for urology.
Which is a lot. It's still a lot.
I'm in the last 11 years, I average about 16,000 work RVUs.
Yeah.
So that depending on what the conversion factor is, it's a lot of production. And obviously you have to have a good product, and also you want to make sure you have a great team supporting you. I can't do that. Yes, I can do it all myself, but I will definitely not be as effective and efficient by having somebody else do it. A lot of people are fixated on the number of patients that you're seeing. That's not really the entire picture. It's the number of work RVUs that you generate. So for instance, today, I may have seen just shy of 40 patients. But
shy. But go ahead. It's
a
lot.
At least 7 new vasectomy patients who had their vasectomies done on the same day and a consult on the same day. And then plus a bunch of procedures like cystoscopies and transrectal ultrasounds as part of the BPH workup, which translates to a modifier 25 visit. So I'm doing an E&M visit with a cystoscopy and a transrectal ultrasound. And sometimes these patients are also using a cash-based service such as nitrous oxide. So it's not just work RVUs or the number of patients, but a lot of other factors. So
yeah, I mean, definitely the teamwork is huge, and you cannot underestimate all the team, from the calls, how they're picked up, how the communication happens there, what happens from the call to the appointment. I mean, there's all that. But I'm also very interested in, like, you on the one-to-one, when you're speaking to patients and you're having that time to have those conversations of 40 patients and procedures, which as urologists, these are sensitive topics. They bring a lot of shame. There's leakage. There's erection problems. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, brings some shame and some embarrassment. So in a short time, let's call that, how are you, mastering this skill of communication one-on-one? Because again, the reviews show it. Of course, we can have ways of how we can improve reviews, and there's many techniques for that as well. But I want to focus on the communication and how you excel in that time frame to be effective, compassionate, and I can excel.
And you wrote a great article in Kevin MD about how to build that relationship, and that's being present. So before I walk into the next patient's exam room, I've already looked at the history. I already looked at the reason why he or she's here. I've looked at the records that have been scanned into the chart. So I have a good idea of what's going on. If the patient has written a story about what's happened, I've read it. By the time I walk into the room, first of all, before I touch the door handle, I'll do a mental reset. Whatever's going on personally in the other parts of the office, phone calls, etc., I zone out, leave that before I walk into the door. Also, as soon as I get near the office, my phone goes into a certain mode that it does not send me any notifications unless it's from my family. Only important people and my family, my parents, that's it. Otherwise, I get no notifications. So I am present, as you say.
Focus. Yeah, laser focus.
For the patient in front of me. Then I touch the door handle. I walk in the door. And depending on if it's a young vasectomy patient, you can joke and banter immediately. Or, like, for instance, I can walk in and say, I see that you're only 32. Are you sure you want to do this? Right? You can joke around. Or you can walk into the room with a BPH patient who's already filled out the AUA symptom score. It's in the room. I can say, hey, how's it going, Dr. Lin? Wow, that looks really bad. Right? And you're just kind of making some making light of it, joke with the patient. You kind of have to read the person. And the patient may respond, "Oh yeah, this has been going on forever. I can't wait to talk to this about you with you, and I waited too long to have this addressed." You can have many ways to open up that relationship, that rapport with the patient. The other thing is, as you probably already know, sit down when you're seeing the patient.
100%. 100%. We're like twins, John. We're twins. Sorry, go ahead.
If the patient's on the exam table, I'm below the patient
Always.
because it is scary to be in this new environment where you have lack of control
Above you.
for the patient. I'm putting them above me, so they are looking down at me. So they have more authority and control. And I'm sitting down, asking them questions using a tablet. I don't have a computer because anything between myself and the patient or the audience on stage is not good. I don't want a barrier. So I use a tablet and a stylus, like a pen and paper.
Yeah, I do pen and paper because I'm old school, but I do the same thing.
So there's no barrier between myself and the patient. And also, one of the Chris Voss techniques, if you want to, say you examine a patient, it's a BPH patient, you are thinking that this patient should consider starting on a medication. One of the Chris Voss techniques is, instead of asking for a yes, I ask for a no. I ask the patient about medications and I say, would that be a bad idea? So when you ask for a no, you have your patient thinking, wait, why would it be a bad idea? So now you're having your counterpart thinking for you why it's a good idea.
Yeah, and for those that don't know Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference is the book that we're referring to. It should be an absolutely must read it for anybody because every person conversation is a negotiation. And so we need to learn how to speak to people, not to have power over them or get things out of them, but just to better communicate. And so this is definitely an excellent book, which, by the way, the first book club I ever done in my life at 42 years old was with you, and we did this book for urology and with Aaron as well. So, so Aaron, thank you for being part of it. And yes, if you have not read it, this is very important. You're right. How we ask the questions is so critical. And there's many techniques on that book of how to ask a question. And even, it's not in the book and that one, but, even when I ask, instead of asking like, did you take your Flomax, your medication? I said, oh, did you get a chance to like start the medication? How did that go? Because it gives you an open answer that, if you say, did you take it? They'll say yes or no, or they'll say yes to please you. But if you say, did you get a chance? It's like, it gives them a little bit of space and permission to say, oh, no, I didn't, So it's just how you ask the questions that first gives you a different answer. And two, just gives it a little more space and empathy and a little more control that they don't have to have shame of how things are answered. So I love all these things you've said, from the prep to get into the room, the removing the distractions, being present, not having a computer, a tablet, things in front of you, being below the patient. And also, again, how are we asking these questions? I mean, this is golden, which should be taught in medical school, but it's not. So I'm glad you're kind of actually breaking down step by step, because it kind of needs to be, so people realize there is a method to the madness. It's not just, hey, you want to film act? I mean, like, we really have to have a little bit of a methodology, but also humor is key as well. And maybe urologists use it more, but this is very important. And the name is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. That's the name of the book.
Yeah. And also Vanessa Van Edwards, she calls herself a recovering awkward person. And I can definitely empathize with that because not speaking the language, not having the culture awareness when I first came to the States, definitely I was extremely awkward. And recently taking up public speaking, definitely something new. But she said in her book, Cues, Cues, that charisma is a right balance between warmth and competence. Sometimes physicians are too much competence and not enough warmth.
Amen.
We are practical. This is the problem. Let's fix it. But you want to think in terms of So here's the other thing. Empathy. Empathy. Empathy is not sympathy. It's very different. And the way you can convey empathy is this is a great way to do it in an interview like this, or if you are seeing the patient after he or she has told you what's been going on, you take it into your mind, you rephrase it. And we are great at shortening things and rephrasing it, telling the story back to the patient in a very succinct fashion in 10 seconds. So for example, basically you're saying that you had trouble urinating for about 10 years, you never had an infection, you've tried this medication in the past by an outside urologist, it did not work, and it gave you side effects. That's why you're here.
Yep.
And of course, they told that to you in a 3 to 5 minute diarrhea of the words, but you just summarized it and then retold it back to the patient. It showed the patient that you
listening.
You heard them, you processed it, and you are summarizing it to. It's called the readback.
It's absolutely crucial, and I do that. And I think we're twins, John. This is kind of freaking me out because I do the same thing, and I do the pen and paper. I don't do the tablet, but I write down this thing like, 6 years, it hurts like this, and I say exactly what they told me, just like I did just now. I recounter what you just told me in your steps. I just rephrase it back to you. And what does that do actually? It also opens up the mirror neurons, because now there's this empathy that builds. When there's this empathy and there's mirror neurons, now people become open and they become trusting, and then they relax. So there's a lot that goes into that, but it's so crucial. And it takes 2 seconds to repeat it back, and you truly are listening if you can say back what they just told you. And if it's not the same, like you clarify, you're like, I always say, is that correct? Because I want to make sure that what I said back to them is what they were telling me, because it'd be like, no, it was 5 years. I'm like, okay, so it was this time. So it gives you also time to clarify things that maybe weren't clear or that they need to say again. And so it's so important to do that. And it like I said, it doesn't take time. It builds that critical empathy, like you're saying. And yeah, I'm gonna just let you continue because this is so good and so important. Yeah. So go ahead.
You're showing them that I hear you. I hear you.
And that's what people want at a core basic level of need for our core basic needs in life, whether you're 6 years old, whether you're 25, 65, or 85. You want to be heard, validated, acknowledged, and then like know that you matter. And that's what you're doing when you actually truly listen. And there's a book called Just Listen by Dr. Goldstein, Mark, I forget the author right now, but I'll put in the notes. But it talks about that. Just listen, which means stop talking about yourself. And again, all the things I can tell you about your enlarged prostate and what we're going to do, and get curious and ask the person questions so that then they can tell you and then you repeat it back. So this is so important for, again, effective communication. But go ahead and keep telling me what else magical things you have.
Well, should we dive into, should we switch gears to talk about public speaking or just speaking in general?
No, I think it's important because, again, so many physicians go to these conferences, have these big presentations. And honestly, I don't go to these big meetings because I rather just, eat nails and listen to these boring talks because they are just so dry.
Okay.
Like, 1,000 words in the PowerPoint. I can't read it. There's some p-value, which is important, but I just really want to just rather again,
there's a whole art to doing presentations. And I read a book, Presentation Style or Presentation Secrets by Steve Jobs. If you ever heard of his presentations about Apple products, you'll be amazed. Basically, it's storytelling. And the author said that within the first 10 slides, you should have fewer than 40 words. Now, that's a great goal. It's great for the audience, but it puts a lot more work on the presenter because that means you have to know the material so well that based on that one picture, you know the story and you know how to tell the story. And that's the way the slides are supposed to work. You should be able to see the image, trigger your memory, and then go into your discussion about whatever topic that you want to discuss based off of that one slide. And that is completely absent in scientific presentations. It's a slide with a bunch of words, text that you can't read, graph, and the speaker says, "I apologize for this for the size of the font." Well, don't apologize.
Just don't do it.
Don't
Stop
do it.
doing it. Yep.
Whenever you have something that busy on the screen, our human mind is trained to look and read the words. Now, if I want you to read the words on the slide, why am I even here?
Just give a handout.
Just give the handout. You can read the slides. My job as a presenter is to interpret the slide for you and tell you why it's important to you. That is what is missing. Here are the data, but then it doesn't tell me, okay, so what? We are all selfish. Humans, our goal is to survive and to thrive. If you, the presenter, can chew that information, digest it, and then give it to me on a silver platter, that is what I want. That is what makes those meetings valuable. There's a reason why after the presentation, the conversations after the presentations are so much more valuable, because somebody has kind of interpreted it and given his or her opinion, and now you're discussing among yourselves. It shouldn't have to be like that. Yeah. The presenter should be presenting the gold nuggets, giving it to you on a silver platter and say, this is why it's important to you.
Yeah, and also like the great point of like knowing your audience. I mean, you can say this conversation anywhere, but if you don't know your audience and you don't understand who it is, and also we'll also talk about too, well, I mean, I'll go back a little bit because you should read that book, with Steve Jobs, because he would do these presentations, pictures only, no writing, and the big part, which you do a lot as well, which maybe you'll talk, but it's really rehearsing this, rehearsing. So much, I think, in a way, physicians, sometimes they just think we're too smart and we can just ace it, we can just show up and we'll just be fine. We have this thought, but, like sometimes we have to work at things, like even TED Talks. I see physicians, oh yeah, I just show up and do the TED Talk and practice it once. Like, good Lord, this is not a ground round, it's a TED Talk. You gotta like nail it and go and do it because this is TED Talk. Or again, even the ground rounds. Whatever presentation you're being paid to do, hopefully, you really got to work at it and you got to practice the tone, the delivery, the body language. How are you interacting with the audience? How are you moving? What's in front of you? What's not? Like, what are you wearing? I mean, everything should be part of it. And if you want to be a great speaker, I think. And yeah. So,
well, this we speak to influence people. Otherwise, why even bother, right? You're selling this idea. You're selling the concepts on the slide on the study. It's been said that the chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. Oof, there's a strong status quo bias in medicine. We do it this way because this is the way we've always done it. And that's why all the scientific presentations look the same. That's why you are bored whenever you're listening to these presentations. You can do better. The other secret is, just as you're talking to the patients, you don't want a screen between you and the patient. Ideally, if you can, get out from behind the podium. I always want to connect with the audience. Connection and then communication. So often I'm off the stage. If the venue is small enough, I'm off the stage and I'm on the floor. But when I present, I'm looking at the person in front of me, make a point, move on to the next person, make another point.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm connecting with every single attendee.
Yeah, you're not looking at the back of the wall. You're not looking at the screen, at the computer. I mean, you really have to look at people because that's what you're there to talk to people. So I think the point of looking at people in their eyeballs, connecting, delivering that information kind of like one-to-one so they feel seen and connected is so powerful. And you're doing it now, and I know you're doing your presentations too. And we're going to talk about this body language and how you present not just what you're saying here, but you've been doing this as well. So talk a little bit about that for people that didn't pick up on that.
You mean the body? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so first of all, let's talk about online stuff, right? Okay. So online presentation. First of all, the camera, the framing of the image, you'll notice that I'm not like this. Okay, this is really close. I am like this, and I'm not like this. This is a little close too. I am way back here. There's a reason. You already know this. This headspace is wasted space. Often presenters will be way on the bottom of the screen and wasting all the space up there. Number one, minimize the headspace. Frame yourself so you don't have a lot of wasted space up there. Number two, there's a field of study in presentations called communications called proxemics. Different distances depending on if it's a public zone, social zone, personal zone, or intimate zone. So this is more of a social zone, as we're just first meeting. But once I get to know you a little bit, now I can get into the personal zone. This is a little bit closer. Now, a lot of times, some people will start the meeting this close. This is a little bit too intimate. So that's why some people have Zoom fatigue. Yeah. So framing, and also lighting. You want to light your face. When you communicate, people want to see your eyes. Eyes, portal to the soul, right? It shows intent. And when the face, typically a lot of people will have the window behind them instead of in front of them, so their face is dark. For me, I have two lights in front of me lighting my face so you can see my intent.
Yeah, see
because
you.
According to Dr. Albert Morabian from UCLA Department of Psychology, he did a study on influential communications. 7% involve the words that we use, only 7%. 38%, the tonality, the delivery of the message. A full 55% body language. And so why am I framing myself this way? Because you can see my hands, right? When the police officer is encountering a suspect, he always says, show me your hands, right? That's why when the audience joined us, I'm like this. I'm friendly.
It's safe. Come. It's safe.
It's one of the first things that you want to do when you are in a meeting online, in person especially. You don't want to get on stage with your hands behind your back. That's something very unnerving when somebody has hands behind their backs or hands in a pocket. And part of a lot of communication is body language. And that's why I frame the shot this way. So you can see not just my face, because facial expression is kind of like the remote control of your emotions when you're communicating. I'm also showing my body language, that I'm relaxed, that I'm making a point using my hand, or the rate is increasing like this. And when you're looking at a graph, it's literally going like this. Hand gestures cannot be shown when you are really, really close, like
me. I'm a little closer.
Like this, right? You can't see my hands. My hands are moving. You can't see me. You can only see my face. So part of the body language is missing if you're too close to the camera. That's why the frame is like this. So anyway, that's a quick summary of how you should frame your shot. Also, here's something very subtle. If you notice, my camera is just ever so slightly below my eyes. And whenever you are presenting, you're typically the authority. You definitely don't want the camera above you because your audience is looking down at you. You're losing power and authority when the camera is above you. And that is typically what happens because the notebook camera is really up high.
Correct.
What commonly happens is the presenter has the notebook computer below them on the desk without propping the camera up. So now the camera is below you, and being Asian, and I'm fulfilling this Asian prophecy, I'm a photographer, okay? Football season is starting this week, as a matter of fact. I know a little bit about photography. When the camera's below you, whatever's closest to the lens is emphasized, is bigger. I don't want my chin to look big. I don't want any double chin showing. I don't want people to look up at my nose. Why would you have the camera below you? No. Camera should be at eye level or very slightly below you because you want to give that subtle hint of authority when you're in front of a camera. And the very, very last tip that I'm giving you, you are looking at the camera. You are looking at the screen right now and looking at me. You think I'm looking at you, except I'm actually looking at the camera. This is something
Correct.
very unusual, very unnatural. You have to practice looking at the camera when you're presenting. And sometimes, yes, I want to look at Diana and look at the audience, but most of the time I'm looking at the camera because this is how I am engaging you.
Yes.
And that's something that's very unnatural, but as a presenter in front of a camera, you need to be looking at the camera, not the screen.
Yeah, these are huge, huge points. I hope people are taking notes. If not, go back and rewind this and really write down every single thing. And I can say, definitely go back and look at my first video that I ever did on YouTube. I mean, it's god awful cringe worthy, but guess who helped me? It was not Fairy Wary. It was like John Lynn that helped me and kindly said, "Hey, Diana, do you think, maybe lighting would be a good investment?" I'm like, maybe. Hey, Diana, do you think you may want to get a different, microphone or the camera or this? I mean, like every single thing you see here today is absolutely an improvement from John at different parts of her life. And today it even got better with the sound, just moving the microphone to face me a certain direction. So, I mean, it is so critical. Like light, you cannot do a Zoom meeting. Please God, don't do a Zoom meeting if you don't have light. I mean, just forget it. Like go in person. If you're ever gonna go in Zoom, unless you're talking to your kids or something, you need to have light. Invest in it. It doesn't have to be $10,000. You can get something affordable, but get some light. I mean, I have these like stadium lights. There's two of them, and yeah, it feels like I'm in the stadium, but it is what it is because they need to see my face. They need to see my eyes. This is critical. If they don't see you and you're dark, I lose interest, and I'm like, what the heck is this about? Okay, so the light is critical. The sound, we already went through it, and it's also critical. And the position of the microphone and understanding your microphone, just like I didn't understand it. How are we positioning it to get the best sound? Are we getting feedback from microphones or the speakers? This is critical. Like if you are getting background noise, that's just going to ruin everything. You need good internet. Please have good internet. You should not be on the Wi-Fi. This is also important. Positioning, again, the camera. So many people, as you say, like this, I'm seeing their nose. I don't want to see your nose. Come on, people. Like it's awful. And the framing as well. I know that's your biggest pet peeve, and it's huge. And we see that in people that are on TV. And if you've ever done media coaching, that's one of the biggest things that you get coached on, and colors and what colors you should not wear and which colors are good for camera or TV or Zoom. I mean, there is an art to it. Just ask any person that's been on TV. This is really important.
Well, speaking
So,
of TV, you don't have to take my word for it about how they frame their shots. Let me just show you.
oh
This
yeah.
is this is CNN.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how they frame their shots,
Mm-hmm.
right? Very little headspace above them. And that's not, I want to be fair and balanced here. Fox News, same thing. Very little headspace. A lot of the upper body is being shown. So don't take my word for it. Just because I've taken some master classes on public speaking and extensively studied it, don't take my word for it. I'm just some rando on the internet. Look at what the big players are doing and adopt their examples.
Yeah, see, like be curious, look and see what's working and emulate that. Just like we see you being a leader and you helping others, well, like maybe emulate those qualities that you would want to have. You don't even have to take the master class, but like, okay, what are they doing? Take some notes, pay attention, be present. Because again, some of the things you were doing, you didn't explain them, but they're happening in the background, and you are doing this to improve your communication in this. And yes, absolutely looking at the camera. I'm not really looking at you, John, the whole time, which is a little odd because I want to look at you. And sometimes I do look down because I want to see you. But the whole time I'm talking straight to the camera because that when you're watching it's like I'm talking to you directly. And that's so important because if I'm like this and also have big eyeballs, every like millimeter is a huge shift for me. So if I move a little bit, it's huge. So I have to stay focused. And it's still a challenge for me because I move a lot and I'm very expressive. But you got to stay centered on the camera so that it can feel personal. Otherwise, it just feels like some random lady just, I don't know, reading something here. So this is crucial. We're getting a question about curious about confidence while public speaking, not feeling as scared or nervous. So what do you have to say or, share about, the jitters about public speaking?
The biggest takeaway I will give you is think about why you're speaking. When you're anxious or nervous, you're worried about judgment. Tell me I'm wrong. You're worried about what other people will think of you when you speak. Am I saying the right things? Am I going to say the wrong things? Am I going to talk too fast, too slow? Are people going to understand? You're worried about yourself. Here's a mindset shift for you. Why are you there? Why are you speaking? You're speaking because you have valuable information what you want to share with the audience. They are why you are present and giving the talk. Your job is to provide value to your audience. This is not about you. The reason you're speaking is not about you. It's about your audience. You have information. You have value that you want to provide the audience. That is why you're there. There's a big mind shift that will help you overcome the worry, the imposter syndrome, etc. Something else. Diana has already mentioned this. Rehearsal, practice. And I don't mean what you most likely are typically practicing, looking at your PowerPoint and talking about it in your mind. When you are rehearsing for a presentation, and this year alone, I'll be on eight real stages, and I've done over 5,300 telemedicine visits. I've got hundreds of YouTube videos, and I'm being paid tens of thousands of dollars this year alone just to speak. When you are being paid and you are practicing, you're rehearsing, it is not just you looking at the PowerPoint presentation and rehearsing. You are standing up. You're using a clicker. You have the PowerPoint slides on the side. You're delivering the presentation in the tone, the volume, the cadence, body language, as if you are literally giving the presentation. That is how you rehearse. And in acting, every minute of actually being on film on stage is 2 hours of rehearsal. You don't have to go that far. But just think about how much practice actors do. When I'm on stage, it's a show. It's a presentation. It's not just me reading off the slides. And the bar, I hate to say this, the bar to be excellent in medicine, pretty much in anything in medicine, is set pretty low. Patient care, patient expectations, giving presentations on stage, the bar is set really low. If you put forth a little bit extra effort than anyone else, you will stand out in a big way without much effort. But that's how Steve Jobs is able to present fewer than 40 words in the first 10 slides, because he rehearsed the heck out of these presentations. When you listen to presentations by NVIDIA, Samsung, these big tech companies, those presenters have practiced and rehearsed a lot on the actual stage. The smooth delivery does not happen just accidentally. TED speakers have rehearsed tremendously. For a 15, 18-minute talk, they have rehearsed a lot. That's why it looks so smooth for most of the TED speakers. And here's something else. Warren Buffett. Now, he's currently, as of July, the 7th richest person in the world, billionaire. He gave away $5.3 billion, so he dropped, I think, from 6 to 7, okay? He does not have a diploma from Columbia or his master's from, I can't remember where. Let's see, diploma from University of Nebraska. He does not have the master's degree diploma from Columbia University in his office. You know what he has up on his wall? His Dale Carnegie public speaking course that he took in 1951. It is the certificate that he displays in his office. That is how much emphasis he places on the ability to speak publicly. These skills, you're selling an idea to a patient every time you're talking to the patient. You're trying to promise or trying to help him or her see that there's a better way. Public speaking, you're selling an idea. Hey, you should consider doing this. You should consider thinking about the framing, lighting, and stuff like that. You're selling an idea no matter when you are communicating. It could be one person, could be a group of people.
Could be your spouse.
You are constantly selling.
Yeah,
okay, you're selling an idea.
When are you going to go to dinner? I mean, you're selling that idea. This is all across the board. I mean, this is so important. Yes, we're focusing on patients and presentations and Zooms and, TikTok, whatever it is. But truly, this is about every day. Like if you master the skill, it's not just, okay, here I'm going to turn it on. Here I'm going to use it. It's like, it's your skill for life to communicate better with everybody, because then everybody wins. When your spouse understands what you're trying to say, when you say things in a certain body language, tone, energy behind it, outcomes may be very different, because the biggest, probably cause of divorce, definitely cause of getting sued as a physician, is miscommunication, poor communication.
Thank you for the perfect segue. Medical safety experts at Crico Strategy investigated 23,000 medical malpractice lawsuits. They found more than 7,000 of these lawsuits could be attributed to communication failures.
Absolutely.
And these communications failures resulted in $1.7 billion in malpractice costs and almost 2,000 preventable deaths. That is how important communications is.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to sit on those numbers and read those, like listen to those numbers. Don just said, like, listen to the numbers, like data. Numbers don't lie. There's no drama in numbers. It's just data. So the numbers you just said are so powerful to understand. Like, this is critical. This is not like some, oh, that'd be nice to do. Like, this is critical. You could have the worst outcome as a surgeon or as a physician that's not a surgeon. People can actually even die. And like, they won't sue you if they felt, again, going back to the beginning, heard, listened to, validated, held, cradled, and have had some compassion, empathy, felt like they felt loved by you. They will never sue you. They will never. But they felt dismissed. They felt not listened to. They felt like you were hiding from them, that you didn't want to confront the difficult situation. They will get enraged. And that's why people will sue, because they feel rage. They feel a guttural violation to their core rights as a human. And they will sue you until like the last breathing breath that they have in their life. I mean, that's just how it works.
Yeah. And once you master these communication skills, reality becomes negotiable. You can get free upgrades to hotels, free car washes, better salaries, better dating partners, and negotiate better ER call pay or salary, better, easier advancements in your whatever it is that you want to do in your practice. We have a few minutes.
Yeah.
I've got, there are 5 core vocal foundations. I know word 7%, tone, how you say things, 38%, and then rest is body language. If you don't mind, I would like to quickly run through the 5 vocal foundations.
Yes,
and the first thing will be the rate of speech. Now, think about this. We're typically talking like this, but if I start talking like this, even though I didn't say anything profound, it sounds like it's really important. So anytime you want to highlight something, slow down your rate of speech. It becomes a verbal highlighter. And if you're constantly talking in conversation like this, the same speed throughout the entire presentation, and you don't change your speed, and you're talking about verbal foundations, and it becomes boring. And this is typically what you see in presentations. In presentations, anytime you go to a society meeting, go to the AUA, I hate to say this, it is the same speed. And humans, when something's the same, it becomes predictable. You start tuning out. You're like, okay, where's my phone? Where's the next Netflix release? right? So rate of speech, vary it. When you slow it down, you're highlighting what's important, what you want the audience to really think about. Second thing, volume. So the way we're speaking right now, I'm at least a 1.5 times higher volume, higher intensity, and higher energy because I know the camera will take away the interest of the audience if I don't raise that volume, raise that intensity. Volume gives you confidence. It gives you power. It makes your audience feel that you believe what you're saying. It gives you authority.
The passion.
And passion. Most people stay at a volume of 3 when they are on stage talking, and it should be a 5. Better yet, modulate your volume. When you go up and down, it makes it interesting. Don't be a Switzerland. Don't be neutral.
Don't be monotone.
That's number 4. So volume is number 2. Number 3 is pitch or melody. Now, Diana, I want you to think, in the audience, I want you to think of a book that you've read many times. Maybe Campbell's Urology. A book that you've read many times. Can you recall verbatim everything on a page out of a favorite book that you read multiple times?
I can't.
I can't either. Now, think of a song, your favorite song, maybe something from Taylor Swift. Can you sing a song and remember all the lyrics?
Of course.
Oh, so what's the difference?
The melody.
There's melody in a song. A page in a book is about 280 words. Song has about 280 words. Why can you remember a song and you cannot remember a page? Because there's melody. So when you change the pitch of your voice, of your discussion presentation, it's like the backing track of whatever it is that you're saying, the words. Think about this. You can listen to a piece of piano music and you can feel sad. You can feel happy and sometimes scary. Think of a horror movie. How are you able to get those emotions without any words? It's melody, it's pitch. And same thing, when we speak, we don't change the pitch of our voice. This right here, our larynx, the vocal cord, this is a leader's instrument. A piano has 88 keys. Most of us speak with 1 octave. We stay in this octave and we don't change how we sound. And notice the next time you speak or next time you listen to someone speak at a conference, they speak in this pitch and that's it. When you have an instrument with 88 keys, why aren't you using the higher notes and also the lower notes? Vary your pitch. I will share this with you that is very common in today's society, and that is the rising terminal intonation. Also known as upspeak, uptalk, and it means you're ending your sentences like this. At the end of your sentences, you're talking up. And what this is saying is to the listener is that you have doubts regarding what you're saying. For instance, Diana, this pen costs $200, okay? A declining terminal intonation versus Diana, this pen costs $2,000, right? I'm not sure in the second instance when I have a rising terminal intonation. You're asking a question when you have a rising terminal intonation. Whereas if you're sure of something, you have a declining terminal intonation. So be aware of that. And I have an example. This is actually an AUA podcast from several weeks ago. And I'll just listen to you. I'll just let you listen to this.
From 2014 up until 2023. Now, we've been talking about the practicing urologist census, but there is actually a census for residents and fellows. The census also gets published by AUA section. We've done some census work on practice managers and even on medical students. So there is a lot of opportunity to understand different aspects of the urologic workforce. The data is more valuable.
You get the gist.
Kind of fun. This is fun.
Be
This is fun.
aware of the rising terminal intonation when you speak. Okay. And you mentioned this topic number 4, tone. Tone, as I said, is the emotion underneath the words. So if you say, let's make a happy face. You can all do this at home. Make a happy face and say, good afternoon. Okay? And now make a sad face and say, good afternoon. Very different. Big difference. And that's why in training, when you're on the phone with phone etiquette, they say smile when you're answering the phone, because literally the person can hear your smile. Your face is the remote control for your emotions underneath the words that you're saying. Okay. Also, here's an easy trick. When you elongate the vowel, you're expressing more feeling, and you're emphasizing the emotion underneath the words in the tone. A lot of presenters have this monotone. And so what happens when you have monotone? When you have a resting father face, when you have a monotone face, you have a monotone voice. When you have a monotone body, you have a monotone voice. So
get animated.
Your
expression.
Your body language is intimately related to your face and your body. When you can combine your facial features, your body language, and you speak, oh, it's beautiful. And lastly, for most men, we have a neutral phase. We've been told to be stoic and not show emotions. I think that's the biggest bullshit that you can think of for men. Show your emotions. It is okay.
Yep. You're not a robot.
Don't be a robot. When you're on stage, show how you're feeling. Because if I can't see that you're excited about your topic, how can you expect the audience to be excited about your topic? Finally, the 5th vocal foundation is pause. It's very awkward, right? What I just said is like, wait, is he going to say something? When he pauses, it gives the audience some time to think, to let what you just said sink in. Very importantly, a pause will eliminate the ums, ahs, filler words. And this is one of my favorites, the kiss suck, that you'll often hear. Whenever you have the inkling to do that, pause. It will eliminate that. Okay, so those are the 5 vocal foundations. When you modulate the 5 vocal foundations, you become an extremely effective and engaging communicator. Let me read this to you, okay? I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Okay? Recognize who said that?
Yep, Emily.
Now listen to this.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
I mean, the way I said it versus how he almost literally sang those words.
That's a masterclass.
It changed his life, and it changed the lives of millions of Americans. That is how important communication skills are.
Wow. Okay, we have to end on that, because that is so powerful, and that really encompasses really what we're talking about and why communication is critical beyond what we can imagine. So, John, thank you so much for your time, for just really, this has just been probably the most valuable we've done the whole time. I'm just so grateful. I really, 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 I'm just bathing in gratitude for your being, for your soul, for your heart, for all your hard work, for your humility, which is
Thank you.
impossible to find in a surgeon, but yet you encompass all of them. So people that may want to, connect with you, find you, follow you, because you have like a billion YouTube channels of photographs, a lot of things that people can really just gain, some value, even if they're not urologists and they can't be in our Facebook group in urology. But how can they find you? Where's the best place? I think you don't live in LinkedIn, but where do you live?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, Snap, Insta at JCLINMD. JCLINMD. And you can look up John Lin MD on YouTube. You should be able to find me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again for just coming and just really so much value. The last minute was even more valuable than the first and the middle. And there's just, please take notes, go back, rewind, re-listen, really practice, because this is a masterclass. This is not just a fluff. This is like years, hours, thousands of hours of practice. See what John did, see how he said it, when he said it. It's the masterclass. Watch him and really, use it in your own life. So thank you again. This will be a replay. Please share with people that may find value in this, and, really practice the skill. And if you're a physician or no one that may benefit from getting support, getting out of burnout, talking to somebody, like unburdening your stressors, your worries, your dreams with somebody that will do it confidentially, please let them know about physiciancoachsupport.com 7 days a week. It's free. Okay, it's free, people. Please go. We need to get better. We need happy, joyful physicians. This is really important, and it can be done, but you got to take the step. You've got to have the courage to really take that step, to find us, go to a therapist, go to your spiritual pastor, anybody you need to do or talk to really get to a better place. So thank you again for everybody being here. It's been so wonderful. And I just wish you, really just a great night, and thank you again.
Bye-bye.